Yeah, good evening. So, last session we learned about how we can handle forms in React, right? We discussed about how React.js handle the forms, and we saw the pain in the forms, what it does. Lot of coding references, everything is required. I showed you the process, how validation works, how we validate the form, how we design the form, what are the complexities in that. All these points we discuss. Now, to make this form interactions simple and to make the form interactions easier for developer, so we ask our developers to use third parties. That means without any third party, React can handle the forms. We saw that with the help of events. React can handle form events. It can handle all type of validations. You saw that validations, how it is going to manage. But we were not satisfied in that because we saw that lot of event binding, data binding, logical programming is required to handle all this. So in real time, this is a lengthy process. So our developers are asked to use third parties. Some companies are strict to certain third parties. Otherwise, you can depend on various third parties available. Actually, I hope you people know why we need a third party. So in software development, in software development, I hope you know about gaps. You know about gaps. When you are working on any technology, you know about gaps. Gaps means just a simple question I will ask you, like you are a Java developer, .NET or PHP, Python, some developer, and a hospital people came to you and asked you to build an application for managing hospital business, like patients information, doctors information, billing, medicines and everything. Now, which technology will you choose for building an application for a particular client? Which technology will you choose? Is it Java? Is it .NET? Is it PHP? Is it Python? How at all you will decide that this technology is required for this particular software? It's not simply like see, yeah, even it's not simply like whether here you know Java, because of that you will use Java, because I hope you know every company have Java developer, .NET developer, PHP developer, Python developers. Why a company has so many developers? If one technology is good, then why they have so many different technology developers in the company? Actually, for that, you should know one simple point that I hope many of you, while working in real world scenarios, are aware of this. Like before deciding a technology to build application, actually, we prepare a table. This table contains some details like as is, to be, and we have gap. That means I don't expect that a fresher level person knows about this table, but experts in software development who worked at requirement level, right? Not at development level, at requirement level, means architects. We call them software architects. So they are aware of this table. So we have as is, to be, gap. As is means actually, as is means what your technology is capable of. What is the capacity of your technology? What it is capable of doing. And to be means what client wants. What your technology is capable of and what your client wants. And gap means what your technology cannot fulfill. That means client wants something and your technology don't have that ability. That is gap. That is gap. That means, for example, you learned some technologies like Java, .NET, Python, PHP, some technology. Do you know how to write a program to generate a barcode? You learned Java, .NET or something technology. Have you learned how to write a program to read barcode? How to generate a program to generate QR code, read QR code? These days, without that, you can't do anything. Suppose you are developing an application for some supermarket. Without barcode, nothing. Then how? Your technology don't have. Java don't have any barcode library. Then how to fill the gaps? That means actually what we do is, suppose Java is having 20% gaps and .NET is having some 15% gaps and PHP is having some 2% gaps. Then we prefer using PHP. No technology in the world is 100%. No technology in the world is 100% in matching any client requirement. That means now you have a lot of gaps to fulfill. Now we will never choose a technology which have a lot of gaps. Right? We always choose the technology according to client requirement, according to technology capability, how much gaps it can fill. And so 2% gaps, it's okay. We will manage that. How to fulfill the gap? The 2% gap, which is not capable by that particular technology. For that we depend on third party. We depend on third party. By using third parties, with the help of third parties, we fulfill the gap. That means we can freely use some third parties. We have to purchase some third parties and we have to fill the gaps. That means we will not ask our developer to design it. We don't want to waste time. That means we will not say that this is not available, you develop it now. That is time waste process. Right? Then what we will do is we will ask our developer that, okay, you have ready-made third party available. We will buy it for you. You just import it and use it. So why we need a third party? That is the point I'm explaining here. Right? Why we need a third party? To fulfill the gaps. What are gaps? The abilities of a technology not to handle certain functionalities. It cannot handle certain functionalities. We fulfill that by using this. So many third parties are there. So popular third parties, for example, for different technologies. For example, we have Telerik is a third party. We have Dev Express is a third party. So many third parties are there. These are all third party people. Telerik, Dev Express, like that. Even, for example, means no need to go that much complex. Suppose you are designing a registration form. When you are designing a registration form, the threat is robots can use our form. We need to prevent robots from using the form. Then we need capture. It is compulsory. mandatory. Every form needs a CAPTCHA to prevent robots. Have you ever learned how to write a code for CAPTCHA? Then how? After all, a small login page needs CAPTCHA. A web development means a simple form requires CAPTCHA. Then how you do this? That means actually CAPTCHA is an artificial intelligence program. Now I cannot now learn artificial intelligence program and sit and write the program to verify human and robot. Then somebody already designed it. That means CAPTCHA is provided as a service by some third parties like Facebook, like Google, like other third parties will provide CAPTCHA as a service ready-made. Just you have to buy or freely use from them and implement. That means we will not sit and write everything. We will implement from third parties. Like this, every technology needs a lot of third-party integrations. Why React needs third parties? What you don't know about React is actually React belongs to whom? React belongs to Facebook. React belongs to Facebook. And Angular belongs to Google. Angular belongs to Google. Actually, Facebook and Google, Angular and React, these were there with Facebook and Google people before the world knows about them. That means React is not invention. React is a discovery by developers. You know the meaning of invention and discovery. Discovery means it is already there, but you came to know about it now. That means React is already there before the world knows about React. That is internally used by Facebook. Actually, I hope you people know you have developersfacebook.com. Have you ever been here? Have you ever been here? Developersfacebook.com, developers google.com. Ever been here? No. No. Do you have any idea what this happens here? What happens here? Any idea? It is a community. It is a community. What you can do here is, suppose you are watching Facebook. On Facebook, you have a lot of apps recommendations. You know, on Facebook, a lot of apps are coming. All those apps are not built by Facebook. They are not built by Facebook, right? They are not built by Facebook, but they are on Facebook Store. You have Google Play Store. All the apps in Google Play Store doesn't belong to Google. That means all the apps in Facebook Store doesn't belong to Facebook. Even like Candy Crush, right? Somebody have developed it and released it into the Facebook, and he became overnight millionaire because millions of people have downloaded, started using it. That means you can make money. That means Facebook monetizes your apps. That means they will pay you for your apps. That means developers can develop an app for Facebook and give to Facebook. Now you ask as a developer, which technology I should use? Then Facebook says that whatever you know, you will use. That means you use Java, .NET, PHP, whatever technology you know, use it and develop and give it to us. We will take care about it. Then we started developing apps for these people. Then we were not satisfied with that app. Why? Because when we saw Facebook people have their own apps and we are developing apps with our technology, and Facebook apps looks good in interface. Then we asked Facebook people like, what you are using? Then Facebook said that we have our own library called React. Then developers community asked Facebook people that, okay, why can't you make it open source so that we can also use it? Then in 2013, they made it open source, saying that, okay, you too use it. Now, the point here you should know is React is not designed for our requirements. React is a technology designed for their requirements. Then how it can satisfy your requirements everywhere? Obviously, it will have gaps. That means you are using a technology and learning a technology which is not built for you. Understood? That means obviously you will have gaps. That means you are using a technology which is not built for your requirements. Then obviously it will have gaps. 100% it will have gaps because it is not built for you. You borrowed it and you are using it. In that case, 100% gaps will be there. So lot of gaps will be there. To fulfill the gaps, they designed this technology in such a way that it supports easy plugin. Easy plugin. Any technology, Java, .NET, PHP, Python, anybody can easily plug in their code into React. That's like USB. You have an USB port in your device. You can plug in any USB device into it. Easy. That is how React is designed now. React is designed. So why React have to depend on a lot of third parties? Because it is not designed for your requirements and you are using it. In that case, you have to follow all this. That is the reason people will tell this as a drawback as well as an advantage. Why drawback? Because it cannot do everything what you need. What and advantage is it supports a lot of plugins for every technology so that every technology can plug in with its own features. It can extend React with its own features. That is good. That means it will be native for every technology. You use on .NET, it will be .NET native. You will use on Java, it will be Java native. It will be easy for you. That is the concept of third party. So why you need a third party? What is the purpose of third party? That is important. And these are all third parties, as I showed you that. So Telric, Deva Express, these are all the third parties. You can see this is Telric. This is Telric. Modern UI made easy. This is Telric. You see, these people are customers of Telric. NASA is customer of Telric. Great. That means they are providing software support for NASA like people. Microsoft is customer of Telric. IBM is customer of Telric. You may ask like, why Microsoft is customer of Telric? Why IBM? IBM have lakhs of developers. They can ask their developers to build it. No, they don't want to waste time. That means you are using a Samsung mobile. The camera lens belongs to some Carl Jesus company. It doesn't belong to Samsung. I hope you know that. You cannot ask Samsung people, why can't you build your own lens? They will say that, why should I do? Already my business is too much. Right? I cannot invest on the building of lenses. Right? You are using Samsung mobile. In that chip belongs to somebody else. In that camera belongs to somebody else. In that some microphone belongs to somebody else. Everything different. Right? That means the point here is why they have to depend. You can build no, I cannot waste my time. IBM cannot waste his time in building in another business because already it have a lot of other business. Then it will simply say that, okay, we borrow from you. And this is very popular, every technology related. You see, when I go to demos here, they have lot of options here. You can see this is for jQuery, for Angular, for React, for Vue, for other technologies like ASP.NET, like JSP, like ASP.NET Ajax, for every technology, for like PHP, Silverlight, you can see for PHP. For every technology they provide. Now we have to use such third parties in building the application. So what is the advantage of these third parties is they simplify the purpose, simplify the functionality, and you just implement them and use them. That is the advantage of this. And very important is, so here, so for these gaps, you have to know one point. So one is as is defines what your technology is capable of. So what your technology is capable of, and to be defines what client requirements are, and gap defines. So gap defines the functionalities not supported by your technology. The functionalities not supported by your technology and client needs them. Defines the functionality not supported by your technology and client needs them, right? That is the basic thing. That is the gap. Means technically we say that what is not fulfilled, right? That is the option. So how do we fulfill the gaps? How to fill the gap? So the answer is by using third-party implementations. Third-party implementations. So why React needs third-party? Third-party. That is another question. The point is very simple. It is not designed for what you are using. It is not designed for you are using. It is not designed for what you are using. Hence lot of gaps. Hence lot of gaps. So third party can fill the gaps. Fill the gaps. And this is for every purpose, every concept we will see that. That means interacting with APIs, we have third parties. Interacting with forms, we have third parties, we will see them. Third parties in various occasions, we will see. Now, what are the popular third parties? Third party for forms in React. What are the popular third party for forms in React? So many are there. We have like Formik. So we have can-do forms. Can-do forms belong to actually Tailric. So React hook forms. So we have like React final forms. So many are there. So actually most star rated among the developers because it is free. Formik is at the first place. And second place, now React hook forms are trending. Now these are becoming popular. Formik at number 1 place, right? Means among developers. Means on GitHub, if you see how many people downloaded and used Formik, you will see Formik number 1, right? In the statistics, you will see number 1. And React hook forms are now trending. These are trending. I will show you both of them. We'll see. You can. And very important is these third parties, you cannot be like, I have learned today and after 2 months, 3 months, it will be same. They will be keep on changing. You need to keep in touch with it, right? Because all third parties don't have same syntax. You have to get help from their official resources, official documents. You need to get help, right? Now React hook forms are very much trending. And Formik is very popular. This is very popular, right? Popular among there. So, and this is trending from actually React 16. Trending from React 16. So React 16 plus versions. So because React 16 plus versions, they introduced hooks newly into functions. I already told you, we will discuss them in the next sessions. So these are designed to complement the hooks. So React 16 and higher versions introduce new hooks, and these forms are designed to handle those hooks easily. That is the reason these will be the best forms for the modern React, right? So Formik and React hook forms are very popular. So many others will be there. You can get from, you can visit the website npmjs.org. You can visit there. So here you can find hundreds, thousands will be there. It depends on your requirement. I will not guarantee that everybody will use only this, right? Company wise, according to requirement, they can use different libraries. But once you know how to explore a library and use it, then others will be easy. But nobody can guarantee that this is the library your company will use in this project. That depends on the complete requirements and already what forms library they are using. That depends on that, right? Without this also we can handle forms, but these are important. You see now, Formik, like I will open here. So you can see npm.js. This is npmjs.org, right? In this npmjs, npmjs.com, yeah, npmjs.com, yeah. This npmjs, this is node package manager. This is npm is node package manager. From here you can download various libraries. Actually, here you can search for react form, and you will see so many. You see hundreds are there. This is react select and react final form, react number format, react hook form. So @hook forms resolver, simple react form, Formik, rc field form. So react hook form, auto, react use form, validate. These are already so many, hundreds of forms will be there. We don't know which one your project is using, right? But most popular are these. As I told you, you have Telrik, right? Telrik. And you see in Telrik, when I go to React here, you see React can do React demo. We call them as React form. This is form. And these Telrik forms are, these are paid sources. These are not free. This is can do React form. And we have to pay for this. You have to purchase. So free trials are available. You can download the free. After sign up, 30-day trial will be available. You can try that. But these are paid sources, right? But we have seen several companies which are very popular in using Telerik, like third party, because mostly Microsoft technologies which are working on .NET, ASP.NET, they have this use very regularly. They use Telerik. And for such people who are coming from Microsoft technology background, their companies majority use Telerik forms very regular. But it's not mandatory. It depends on that, right? They purchase. They specially ask, especially .NET like technologies, they specially ask, like, we need Telerik people. Means people with knowledge on working with Telerik, experience. Fresher, any third party, you know, that's enough, right? But experienced people, they particularly ask for that because the company already using it, right? For experienced people. For a fresher, any third party form is enough to understand, right? Let's see how to use this, how they can simplify. That is the point. You saw our previous example. In our previous example, we have lot of state defined. We have a lot of state defined, and we have a lot of events defined, like verify user, hide user, verify password, hide password, verify caps, verify city, handle user, handle password. Because to collect data from a control, you need a event. To verify the data entered in the control, you need an event. To verify while typing, you need one event. To verify on finish, you need another event. You saw on blur, on key up, on change. So much complexity in the designing of forms. Now let's see how these are simplified. Level by level we will see. That means in Formik also, so many techniques are there. In Formik also, you have a lot of techniques, right? By using those techniques, you can implement. There are so many levels in the Formik also. I will show you. First, I will show you how to use this Formik library. Then I will show you this latest one. That means which is mostly trending now. Means people are looking behind, they are behind this hook forms. But to use these hook forms, you need to be good in React hooks. After knowing about React hooks, we will get in touch to this form. You can see that how it works. But before that, you can try this Formik. So what to do? We have to install the Formik library. So that means first point, you have to install Formik library for your project. That's very simple. You can open your terminal in the command prompt, right? You can open your project terminal, npm install Formik, and we will use the save flag. This is for installing. If you have any doubt in its versions or any issues, because see, third parties, majority third parties are MIT licensed. I hope you know, heard about this. What is MIT license? Majority third parties are MIT licensed. Any idea what are MIT license? No? So any idea MIT license? In software projects, majority of libraries are MIT licensed. Even React, Angular like technologies are MIT licensed. So actually MIT licensed are nothing but MIT license clearly tells the consumer that the provider is not responsible for any issue. Simple. That means if you are using this third party, they are not responsible for any issues. If anything not working properly, if anything have an issue, then you are on your own. That you can't complain on them, because already it is MIT license. MIT license states that the provider is not responsible for any issue in the concept that you are using. They are not responsible. That means you are using every third party on your own risk, right? That is why people purchase Telerik like people. Why? Because see how Telerik charges very huge. That's not free. How Telerik charges? You see, this is the pricing of Telerik. This is the pricing of Telerik, and you can see $1,200 per developer. And see, the light supports 72 hours response time. 72 hours response time. This is 24 hours response time. That means, so everything, phone support, remote web assistance, to $2,000 ultimate support. That means if you have an issue, anything not working, their technical team will come and take over. Their technical team will come and take over. They will see what the problem is, why it is not working for you. That is support. Every technology is that. If you are paying money, then you have good support. If you are using free, you are on your own. Then what to do? One problem is coming, go Google, post in any forum. So that forum, somebody will reply to your issue and get that answer and try it. Still may not be working. Right? All these you might have faced, right? If you got any issue, go Google and search for that and post your issue on any community. Then they will reply. Not guarantee immediately they will reply. If anybody replies, then go through it. It may not work for you certain times. That is the reason many people have to buy these. Large scale companies don't waste time in all this. They have to purchase. They will purchase and they will use ultimate third parties, right? That is depending on what you are purchasing and using. And all these libraries you see here, this is npm.js, and in this I will go Formik. Formik, you can search directly. Formik is there, and in the Formik it will show how to install Formik, and you can see here the Formik. So this is all the Formik, and this is MIT, this is Apache license. Good. That is the reason many people go with this. But still, even if it is Apache license, generally these community have to respond. They will not be completely responsible for issues. That means Apache community is responsible for handling the issues, but they will just support. They will give you some suggestions resolving the issues, right? There are so many such libraries. So technically, when you go to React form, so React form and download any React form, React final forms, you need to first check the version. See, it is MIT license. MIT majority, you will see 80-90% of all libraries MIT license, because nobody wants to take responsibility in your issues. But if anybody taking responsibility, that's very good. That means they have a good community support, and obviously developers will prefer them first. Obviously developers will prefer them first. That means we will prefer these third party communities first, who provide a good support, right? Not MIT. That is the reason. It depends on the people's requirement. So we will install this first. Okay, let's go to the project, and here we will install, take a new terminal, and npm install Formik save. Okay, we are downloading and installing the Formik library for our project. And once the Formik is installed successfully, it is done. That means it installed successfully the library. Now your project is ready to use Formik. Now in Formik itself, lot of techniques are there. Level by level, I will explain. That means basic level, advanced level, how we can design, how we can handle validations, simple level, advanced level, how they provide. Because directly we don't use advanced level every time, depending on requirement. If small functionalities are to be managed, then we will go with the basic level form. If complex are there, then we will go with the advanced level forms. It depends on requirement. Let's see one basic thing how to handle first. What we will do now, we will add a component. I will add a component here, Formik component dot js. I will say Formik demo. Okay, Formik demo dot js. Okay, let's create a function here. So export default function Formik demo. Okay, so and what it should return? It should return simple presentation. I will put the class name container fluid. Yep. And here we will design a simple register user. Let's keep this in a form. We are creating a form register user. Just roughly I defined this option. A register user or some details we are configuring. So here I am adding a data list with a data term, some username, and data definition, a text box, input type text. Another data term is password, and data definition input type is equal to password. Okay, now just I defined some city. Data definition, we will use a select. I'm just using a select, and with an option here, some Delhi, some Hyderabad, like this. Because last session we have seen how to handle text box, drop downs, validation. Same I'm designing here. Okay, fine. Now once you configured this in the form, now let's see. Keep this in the startup Formik demo. Formik demo, yeah. And this is working fine. It's taking a while. Okay, this is the simple Formik demo, and let's keep a button for submitting here inside the form button, say register something. Okay, that is the form. Now, last session, we saw what is the pain in collecting the data from the form, how we submit, how to access the data. For that, for every change, you have to write an event. We have to collect and store in some reference, and we have to submit. Now, see what we can do here. So I want to use the Formik library. So we have to import Formik from Formik. You have to import this Formik library. After importing the Formik library, here we need to configure. Remember, every third party different syntax, different functions, different syntax, no clue. As a developer, you will not have any clue what it will have until or unless you manually explore its official documents. Right? There is no idea about anything to any developer, because even you 10 years worked on Formik and some other company is asking to use some other form, you have to learn it again. Because we don't know, no clue at all. We don't know what library they will have. We will not be having any idea about what classes, functions they are having. Now, can you tell me in any software technology, how a developer can know about the members of any class that he is trying to use from a module? That means he have to work with some classes. He is new, completely new. He don't know what the class contains, what methods, what properties a class contains. It is completely new. That is developed by some architects. They developed a class for you. You have to use that class. Then how do you know what are the members in it? What is the technique of knowing about the members in a class? Any idea? What we call that as? Suppose you are a Java developer, .NET or any programming language, oops, C++. You know, every OOP language have a concept called reflection. No, no idea. No, there is a reflection library in every technology, OOP technology. No? You don't have any idea about that? Right? Reflection library. Reflection is a library of every object-oriented programming from C++ onwards. Every OOP language will have a reflection library. By using that reflection library, you can get information about every property and method in a class before using it. Right? That's what actually software developers do. That's what actually software developers do to get the information. Suppose you know Java. So I hope people majority know Java reflection. You see Java reflection API is there. This is Java reflection API. That means is a process of examining and modifying the runtime behavior of a class at runtime. Every technology have Java, .NET, OOP languages will have this. Object-oriented programming languages. They have a reflection API. Otherwise, how you know? How a developer knows which class have which member? That means you are learning Java means you are learning how to use the classes in Java. You haven't built them. Somebody built. Right? And every time you will not use only the classes you learned in your Java course. Right? Obviously, you will not do that. That means even today, many times people send us messages. Means they already learned, they are working on technology for more than 8-10 years. They are in the lead role. And even today, they will ask us through email questions like, sir, in our current project, we have this requirement. Is it possible in .NET? How to do it in .NET? but he's already 10 years .NET developer. But you will not get a chance to explore everything, right? You will be working on only what is given to you. In that case, you must have the ability to explore the details of that particular class and know about it by yourself, which reflection APIs will help. Reflection APIs are used by software developers regularly to know about the class which they are trying to use in the application. This is there everywhere. Java, .NET, C++. OOP languages means you have a reflection API. But very rarely people learn about this because that is at architect level. People who build libraries, they usually know. But reflection API is very important to work in real world scenarios for any developer. OOP language means reflection APIs are compulsory. We will see that because our JavaScript is not OOP language, but in the next level, we will use TypeScript, which is a OOP language. In the next level, we use TypeScript, which is an OOP language. In that case, you should know, right? You will learn about that. Initially, what you have to do, we don't know what library they provide. So we have to explore their documents only. That means you see NPM JS, people have Formik library. So Formik, in that Formik, you can see this is the Formik library. In the Formik library, you see this is the official home page. You have to go to that and you have to read the documentation here. That means you need to get the complete documentation about it and you have to learn how to handle it. This is all step by step, the process they will provide to you. But all may not be required to you. According to your requirement, you have to explore. Every third party is different. Every third party is different. Then you have to know how to handle every third party individual. It will show you how to install through NPM, how to install through Yarn. We have done that already. We can also use CDN links. They provide a CDN link. Already we learned in the first. We can use React also from CDN links, the Formik. And you can see this is how they have designed. But actually they may give a different direct approach. There are so many other techniques I will show you, right? They given a direct advanced approach. I will show you a basic level approach, how we can do, right? See here, let's go. And here we will create here first what. So we will declare a constant that is Formik. Formik, it uses use Formik. We have to use Formik method. This use Formik method is a method. That means it is nothing but it is a hook. It provides some properties. What are the properties? So many are there. One by one I will explore. First important property, initial values. Initial values indicates what are the values to be handled by this form. Initial values indicates what are the values to be handled by the form. And initial values is an object. You know, object is defined in an object style. And what are the values to be handled by the form? You have to define key and value reference. Key is what, suppose it should handle user name. It is a string type, empty. So it should handle password. Password is also a string type. It should handle some state, city. Yeah, city. It should handle some city. And city is a string. Suppose if it is a number, boolean, I will show you. We will design some complex form. But basic first we will understand that. That means the Formik is telling what are the values your form need to handle. That means we want to handle these values. Okay, fine. Then how you will bind these values with these text boxes and passwords? First, these are the values to handle. So whatever they enter in the text box, it should be stored here, right? Then how you will bind? How you will bind this? Then for that, what we do is here, simple. Here, I am defining a name. As per the rule, every form element should have a name. This is user name. For this, we have a name. This is password. And for this, we have a name, and that is city. And how you bind with this? That means now we have to use here bind with what value? Value. That means which value we have to bind here? We have to get this value, username, and it is present in Formik. Formik, through Formik, you can access initial values by using the object called values. Object name is values. It configure name is initial values, but reference name is values. That means through Formik values, you can access this username, right? That means now what you have to do here, we have to configure like this. What we have to do? Formik dot values. So in the values, we have a value called username. We will bind it. Okay, next, another important point is whenever any change happened, actually we have to collect the value. Whatever value entered, it should be collected. Whenever change happened, it should be collected and it should be updated in that value. For that, earlier we have to write explicit event. We have to write an external event separately, handle username change, collect the value from text box on key up. Am I right? On key up or on change, collect the value and update the value in the store, right? But now here what I have to do is simple. Actually, Formik is having initial values, and Formik is having here, we will put on change. On change is equal to Formik dot handle change. That means Formik is internally having a method called handle change. Internally it is built. In the last session, we built it. Right now it is ready-made built already. What this will do is it will collect the value from the text box whenever you are changing. And where it will update that value into this username. That's good. That means you don't need to write any event, just you have to bind this event. You have to bind this event. The same I have to do for others. That means what should I do here for password? So on so like on change is equal to Formik dot handle change, and here value. So we have to bind with Formik dot values dot what is it? City. I am using that here. This I am doing. Initially we are handling all this. That means now the values are present here. The values are present in this name, city, and everything. These are the values available, but still it is not done. See what I am doing here. I will just put a heading and say user details. Okay, let's do one thing here. I will put a binding expression. I will put here Formik dot values dot username. I am displaying this username. I am just displaying this, and you can see here user details. I am typing, it will get it. It will access that at display. That means whatever details you are entering, it will get that and display. That's very simple. That means we are accessing the details and displaying the details. Then you are not writing any extra events here, right? No extra events like handle change or handle blur, or you don't need to write your own functions anymore. You have to just use this ready-made, right? Just simple how to manage your content. And here, suppose I don't want like this. Suppose actually we can access that, but I want this to be submitted when form submit. When form submit, I have to submit these details to the some APIs. On submit, we have to collect all the data. That pane also you have seen, right? First, we have to use handle change for every control. After that, store the old values in a new object. After that, submit those new values on button click. You have seen that process. Very lengthy process. We created a duplicate object for that and all. But now very simple. Now this Formik can use another important property, that is on submit. On submit. And when this on submit will work, on submit will work generally, you know, in HTML, on submit, on reset are the events for form. Am I right? On submit and on reset are the events for form. Form related events. These are related to form. That means generally form events, you have two events now. So form have two important events. So we have on submit. On submit is an event. On reset is an event. These are the events written for form. And when these will fire up, these will fire up when you hit a submit button. Understood? When your form is having a button type as what? Submit. If it is having submit button type as submit, then it is able to handle it. That means it is going to manage this. Now you see here, we are configuring on submit. Okay, on submit, what it should do? On submit is a function. Function means generally we write a function, we can define whatever data is submitted, we can collect these values, you can collect. Understood? These values you can collect, whatever the values entered in the form, you can collect and you can use them. I will use a simple technique for this. Means we have arrow technique now. We will use values, we will collect the values, and what we have to do, I will use a simple alert. I will use json.stringify. Then I will print those values in a JSON format. I will print those values in a JSON. Actually, here what we do, we write a API post method. Through API post method, we will send this data to the API in the backend, where we have to collect and insert into database. That we will see end to end. Here we are just presenting the data here. And you see now, I am entering the details here. So I am entering details, password, and city is selected, and click on register. It should submit all the data here. And we haven't written submit. That means form have to use, what is it? So form have to use on submit. So Formik have to handle submit. Understood? That means it is a ready-made event. It is a ready-made event for submit. There is a ready-made event for handle change. That means I'm entering the details, I'm entering the password, I'm selecting the city and register. Those details are submitted here. On submit, it is collecting all the data and it is pushing to some APIs later. This is the way of collecting data from the form. This was a lengthy process for us earlier. Now what this can do is it can simplify the concept. It can simplify this very simple way. So here we have to import this use Formik. We have to define initial value. So after installing second step, we have to import use Formik hook. Formik hook. We have to import syntax. I will give you, right? So use Formik hook is this. From the Formik, we have to import the use Formik hook. You don't need this Formik. Use Formik hook. Next time, you have next point, you have to configure form with the Formik form with the values and submit event. How to configure with values and submit event? We have to use a constant. Formik is equal to use Formik and it is an object which contains some properties. What are those? So initial values. Syntax only I am giving first. Initial values. Initial values is an object. That means initial values is object. Another one you will have on submit. As of now, we are using two. On submit is a callback function, right? Now, what is the initial values? Initial values is an object. Initial values is an object that defines. It is an object that defines the values to use. It defines an object. It is defining an object that defines the values to use for form, right? That is initial values. And on submit defines the actions to perform. On form submit, what actions to perform. Now, next point, after defining this next point, you have to bind the Formik values and events to form elements. You have to bind. You have to bind the Formik values and events to form elements. How to bind? If it is a text box, input type is equal to text, and here I will have to use value is equal to Formik dot values dot some name, username. I'm just giving like this. Complete example I will give. Just I am giving a simple syntax first. How to bind with form? So event we have to define like this. Form on submit is equal to, it should handle Formik dot handle submit. One more is there here. We have to bind on change also. Na? Here we have to say on change is equal to Formik dot handle change. It is a predefined option. If you want any action to perform on blur, you can write on blur also directly. So here we will first go with these two things. That is how we can bind. And how do we present these values? Same. So you can present the values or submit. So by using this technique. So first presenting, how we do. Suppose we have data definition, binding expression, Formik dot values dot user name. This is for presenting. How do we present all the values? Is on submit. What we have to do on submit, we have to collect. On submit, we have to collect all values and we need to submit. What action here, right? Here I am just using alert. So some JSON dot string 5, and here we have to send these values. That is on submit. One is just accessing the values and displaying. Another one is submitting those values. So first step, you have to configure form. Second step, you have to bind that with the elements. Third step, we have to collect the data from them and use them. Right? For binding, you have a simple approach. And you don't need to write much events. Right? Everything you can manage in this way. Example, I will copy this one. Example is Formik demo .js, Formik demo.js. This is the file. And this is all the code we written here. I will copy this, and this is the code here. Everything is defined here. Right? This is the example that we created. Now this is not required. You can just use Formik. Right? That is the basic of how we can design a form and we can configure it. Any kind of content you can have. For example, suppose you are having stock, then it is a false. That means it's a Boolean type. You are dealing with that. That means it's a Boolean type. You have to configure in this way. That means here what we do, here we need to bind with some checkbox. That means data definition. So this is stock. Suppose I am just giving, roughly I am configuring here data term. Okay, that is stock, right? And data definition, I will use a checkbox. Input type is equal to checkbox, right? Now here it is not related to it, just I am giving. Suppose I will give, instead of stock, better I say subscribe. Subscribe. So yes. So here we will give some option like subscribe. Okay. Then subscribe is yes or no we are having. Just I will give here a class name as form switch. And here I will use the class name as form check input. So I added one more option, that is subscribe, yes or no. Right, and I need to collect the Boolean value for this. So whether they selected yes or no, then we need to bind here. Two things are required. So one is name. Name is subscribe. Okay, we have value. Actually, it is not value. You have to bind to checked. Am I right? Because it is Boolean, that means checkbox depends not on value. Checkbox depends on checked. Then you have to bind to checked. From where the value will come? It will come from Formik. Formik dot values dot what is it? Subscribe. From there the value will come. And very important here is value configured here. So let's see. Yeah, you can see that is the value. What I will do is, in the Formik initial values, I will keep it to true. Subscribe true. That means you see here, I refresh the page, it is selected. That means it is binded correctly. That means you need to bind not to value for every control. Every control, you should know its properties. That means if it is a checkbox or radio, we bind with checked. If it is a drop down value, depends on what it is. And we need to collect this. That means you need one more work to do here. That means here, so we have to use option on change. On change, the Formik dot what handle change. And now we can collect the value because you have subscribed a Boolean value. Alert, it is printing all those values. I will put here, so a /n here in the next line. So means this is a binding expression. I will just keep a binding expression, not all details, few. I will put here alert, a binding expression it contains. So it contains values dot user name. And in the next line, I will use in the next line subscribe. Subscription, yes or no. I will put one expression again here. Yeah, I will put subscribe. Okay. How to write subscribe? Here I will, so subscribe. I will put here values dot subscribe is equal to true. Then question mark I will put as subscribed, right? Otherwise not subscribed, right? Like this I will give subscription. Just I am using some Boolean operation, subscription. Subscribe, not subscribe. I am just using a ternary operator for handling that and displaying. Now you see, I am just configuring this. I will here select name, enter some password, select a city, subscribe, register. It says subscribe. right? I am turning off this and click on register not subscribe. That means we are handling Boolean values. Any type of value, the handling of the values depends on what they are going to bind with. Is it value? Is it check? Depending on that, right? This is just an example. I added one more here. One more example I added with Boolean. With Boolean. Like that, we can handle all other options. Now, this looks little better, very much better when compared to the traditional approach of React. Now, how this can make it more better in validations? What is the pain in validations you saw already? Now, how Formik can manage the validations in a simple way? How it can manage the validations in a simple way? That we'll see next session. Tomorrow we will do that. Today we just saw how to design a basic form and how it reduces the effort. Tomorrow we will see how it will manage the validations in a simple way. Other techniques we will learn. Right? Tomorrow we'll continue.